Hi guys, this is Matthias and I'm coming at you here with a Rust video. This one is going to be dedicated to the assault rifle or the AK. And if you, like me, have recently started playing Rust, then you've probably noticed that it takes a little getting used to handling the recoil in this weapon. Now, the footage in this video is from a Battlefield server, and this is where I recommend you to get used to this weapon, because when you're playing this game normally on a non-modded server, it's going to take you a while before you get a hold of this weapon, and when you have it, you want to be able to use it properly. Now, finding a Battlefield server isn't all that hard. When you are in the server menu, where you choose the server, you'll see a search field in the bottom of your screen where you can just type in the name Battlefield, and you'll get a variety of servers that you can choose from. And what you see me doing here is something that I actually recommend people to do in almost every game, and that is to just shoot at a wall like this and try to figure out how you need to move your hand in order to control the recoil. Now, you want to do this both with spraying full auto, but you also want to try out a few different ways of burst firing. Now, understanding when you can spray full auto and when you need to switch to either tap firing or burst firing, this is something that, in my opinion, is important to know in almost every game, even though there are players that exclusively take close quarter combat situations. But if that's what you're used to, and if that's what you prefer, then you might have to adapt a little bit if you like to play Rust, because Rust will force you into a lot of long and mid-range situations. That's just the nature of survival games. Also keep in mind that it's much easier to handle the weapon in Rust when you are crouching, and if you're standing up and strafing left and right, then the weapon handling becomes a lot harder. Now, just for demonstration, let me show you the recoil of the AK if you do not recoil compensate at all. So yeah, that's the recoil that you need to compensate for in comparison to what it's like in, for example, H1Z1, which is the game that I come from. As I'm sure you can tell, the AK in H1Z1 doesn't have nearly as much recoil as the one in Rust. Now, Rust has, at this point in time, one hollow sight and one 4x scope, and you can attach them to any weapon, or, well, any rifle anyway. But out of the two, I'm pretty sure that this one, the hollow sight, is the most popular choice. Now, in my opinion, the hollow sight is a lot more valuable on a few other weapons, and the reason for that is because of the iron sights. Now, this is of course just personal preference, but I think that the iron sight on the AK is actually quite decent. You also have to keep in mind that on the Battlefield servers, you might spawn in with a couple of hollow sights in your inventory, and of course you can just attach them. But the reason why I went to Battlefield servers in the first place was to get used to weapons that we had just gotten hold of on the vanilla servers. But before I wanted to take them out and actually risk losing them in combat, I wanted to at least get to know them a little bit better, and that's how I started playing on these Battlefield servers in the first place. However, in many cases we've had the weapons before we've had the blueprint for the hollow sight, and even if we do have the blueprint for the hollow sight, it's actually quite expensive to make it. So if you enter a Battlefield server for the purpose of learning a weapon that you're going to use in a vanilla server, then use it with the same attachments and also the same ammo type. Now, the way I see it, the AK is the most versatile weapon in Rust. It's a good weapon from a very close range to, I would say, longer mid-range. But keep in mind, there are a lot of weapons in Rust that are a lot easier to handle than the AK, and for combat closer than 15 to 20 meters, you actually have a lot of options. Now, as you can see in this video, there are a lot of the enemies that I'm fighting here that are warping and lagging in all kinds of directions. And that's just something that I found in Rust, both on vanilla servers and here on Battlefield servers. This game is in early access, it's an alpha game, and I found that both servers and players can be very, very laggy. Now the longer mid-range engagements is where it becomes a bit hard to decide whether or not you should choose the AK or whether or not you want to switch to the bolt rifle. Well, assuming you have both, which on the Battlefield server you will most likely have, but it might not be the case on your regular server. Now the kills that you see me getting here with the bolt rifle are between about 70 to 80 meters. And at what range you prefer the AK over the sniper, well, that is for you to decide. But getting on a Battlefield server like this is a great way to figure that out, and hopefully the footage in this video is going to help you as well. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to make a few videos similar to this one, covering the other weapons and also some of the other ammo types. Here you see me using the explosive ammo, and this ammo can be quite useful for taking down the heli, for example, or to damage structures. With the explosive ammo you can of course also damage a player that is hiding behind cover by shooting at the ground next to him. Aside from that, you also have incendiary ammo and you have high velocity ammo. So yeah, going on a Battlefield server can be a nice change of pace from whacking rocks and collecting wood. And since there is a lot of grinding in Rust, the one thing that I would like to point out is that if you're spending all this time collecting high quality metal and whatnot in order to get these weapons, then I think it's well worth your time to spend a few hours doing what you see me doing here in order to learn them properly. Me, I have a lot of fun when I'm on a Battlefield server. Sometimes I go there on my own, and sometimes we are a couple of guys. And I also want to point out, by the way, all the combat footage in this video was recorded before I did these recoil tests that you saw in the early part of the video where I was shooting at the wall. So as much as I was very unfamiliar with the AK when this footage was recorded, once you know how much you need to move your hand towards you in order to compensate for the recoil, that's probably all you need to know in about 90% of your engagements. Well, at least that's my first impression of using the AK. So yeah, I'll leave a little bit more footage in this video, and I want to thank you all for watching.